All right, fall is here. Listings are up, closings are down, and homes that are priced right, well, they're still selling. Let's break down what's happening in Great Falls, Virginia for September 2025. This is the Foundations Report. I'm Eric Fafoglia with the Strong Foundations Group of Corcoran Real Estate. I help buyers and sellers across Great Falls and Northern Virginia and the greater DC market navigate complex decisions of buying and selling houses. I help them be more confident using my 128-step buying process and 208-step selling process. Let's dive into September data. This month, I'm doing things a little bit differently. I've added month-over-month data as well as comparing year-over-year data. The median sales price for Great Falls in September 2025 was $1.765 million, which is up just 3% over August, which is really bucking the trends of what we're seeing nationally. So some relief there for our town of Great Falls. That said, September was a slow month. We only sold 11 homes. That's a 35% drop from last month of August and a 50% drop from year over year in September 2024. This tells us what we're seeing across the rest of the DMV, that buyers are getting more and more selective, especially at those luxury price points. And this next stat just keeps adding to it. New listings are up. We saw 22 new listings go on the market last month. That's a 37% increase from August. That means buyers in fall have even more to choose from here. Inventory remains fairly balanced, slightly edging towards the seller's market, as we have about 77 homes active on the market, which brings us to about a 5-month supply of inventory. While that shows we have a whole lot more fresh inventory, it doesn't mean that we're in a surplus situation. 5 months is still considered a balanced market, favoring or slightly leaning towards the sellers. Now, if we look at the data of the homes that are actually transacting, they are selling faster. It only took 9 days for a house to sell, which is down 30% from last month and last year. That's a huge stat. So if all the boxes are checked on a house and it's presented correctly, priced well, it will sell blazingly quick. 9 days is the median. So there are homes that are selling much faster than that and homes that are selling slower than that. The average sale to list price, meaning what percentage of the original asking price the home sold for, was around 96% last month. That's about 3% lower from last month and last year. That tells us that a lot of sellers are still pricing optimistically and eventually having to come down to earth when they finally sell. Speculative home sales are still pretty much non-existent. We had one last month, which is about in line with what we're seeing across the DMV. So what does all this mean? Well, it could just be a fluke that September was a slow month, but around the DMV, we're seeing this. DC, Montgomery County, Maryland, other parts of Northern Virginia like Alexandria, Arlington are seeing slower months than we've seen in the past. And it's starting to hit our markets a little bit later than the rest of the DMV. But things are not falling apart. Prices are up and holding steady, but the pace of transactions is definitely slowing down. And let's see what October brings us. So far, it's been a pretty good month. Rates are now down in the low 6s, around 6.13 as of today. But buyers are just being pickier, and I can't blame them. Now, I've personally seen a few houses, even in my neighborhood, sell over asking price with competition first weekend that they're on the market. So for sellers, the goal here is to make sure that you're pricing the house correctly, meet the market where it's at, and present the home really well, like really good photos. The house needs to look like it's staged, even if it's with your furniture, and the marketing needs to be kick-ass. For buyers, there are some deals out there. So if you've been hunting for a house in Great Falls, but you've just been putting it off, there is a lot to choose from. And don't pass up on these houses that have been sitting on the market. There's not necessarily something wrong with them. They may look stigmatized because they've been on the market for 30 days or more, but many of them have a reason why, and it's likely because they've been overpriced. So go take a look at them, and there might be some gems that you find in the dust. The big thing is that interest rates, economic headlines, and then just general uncertainty that investors are feeling is what's keeping the market from being as frothy as it could be. All right, we're about a month or so, almost a month through Q4 already, which is unbelievable how fast it's moving. I'm gonna be interested to see how October finishes out, and then of course November and December. We generally see a slowdown once we hit the holiday season, and then things pick back up again in January. But I'm interested to see, because the rates did just dip again, and who knows, every single month has been kind of different than typical seasonality so far this year. That's it for Great Falls for September 2025. I believe if you're trying to make a strong decision, it starts with a strong foundation of knowledge. If you'd like to talk through your next step, if you're thinking about buying or thinking about putting your house on the market, just reach out. I'd love to chat. I'm Eric Fafoglia, and I'll see you next month on the Foundation Report.